So I wanted to really focus on, my topic is supposed to involve youth and alcohol. And I wanted to focus on, why do people drug? Why do people drink? So I'm going to focus on that. But before that, I'm going to get in a little bit. I want to show you a couple things. All right, so what is addiction? So addiction is a result of adaptations, and this is the main thing I just want you to focus on. You've got to remember the brain changes. Dr. RT went into detail, so I'm not going to, but the brain changes, and I really want to just show you how the brain changes in a minute. Why do people use drugs? Self-medication. I feel anxious, right? I feel anxious when I'm at a party. You know, I was surprised to read actually over 60% of 12th graders have used alcohol in the last 30 days. I said 60%, that's a lot of young people. That's a lot of young people. I'm gonna come back to this as well, poor self-esteem. So rebelling behavior, what is that? What is rebelling behavior? What is, oh, I'm not gonna study? And I was a late bloomer, by the way. You know, my science teacher in high school said I'd never become a doctor. I had a different plan. So one thing is, just because somebody's told us something, it doesn't make it true. Doesn't mean it's not true. Everybody has a genius. I was with Vasudev, I was sharing this quote, and it's one of my favorite quotes by Edison. He said, if a goldfish tries to determine how much self-worth it has by how well it climbs a tree, he'll think it's stupid its whole life. Goldfishes don't climb trees. We're not meant to be geniuses at everything. But we all have a genius within us, right? And I think this is the big challenge. You know, when you don't get the grade, you don't get the A, you know, you didn't get the 92, but you got an 88, but somehow you're focused in, I just didn't get the 92, right? Or that other kid has the new BMW. Mom, can I please? Can't you do that for me? And you know, of course, many parents have, you know, came from very difficult backgrounds. My parents, neither one of them has gone to college. In fact, on my entire father's side, nobody's gone to college except me. You know, so what is really rebelling behavior? Rebelling behavior is, you know, I'm stupid, I can't do that, so you know what, screw that, I'm gonna do this. Skolmeldingen. I don't like it. You know, but it's not true. It's not true. You just never found what you liked. You didn't figure out which piece of candy really gets your taste buds going. Of course, peer pressure. And this is, of course, in the younger population, right? Come on, you'll have a good time. But they don't realize. So environment is key. And anybody who has kids who are struggling in high school, my recommendation is community college. Don't set them up and send them to a 4-big-year school with 300 kids in the class and they're getting C's in high school thinking they're gonna get A's in college. It's not gonna, unlikely, not impossible, unlikely. And in fact, they're much better off building their skills, learning how to study, and then going to 3rd and 4th year. Because if they're vulnerable in their freshman year, that peer pressure is gonna get to them. If they don't feel good about themselves and they have a poor sense of self, that peer pressure is going to get to them. Because it does exactly what all the professionals have been saying. What's the common thread? It anesthetizes a part of us. It numbs a part of us. So very quickly, I want to show you the changes that happen in the brain. Again, dopamine was mentioned. This is the feel-good substance. I just want you to look at this graph real quick. This is in mice. You can see when the mouse is not eating, the box is empty, there's a little bit of dopamine release. This is how we feel wellness, as Dr. RT said. This is how we feel good. That chai, I love chai. A little bit of dopamine being released as I'm sipping the chai, right? So you get a bump. You're gonna say, oh, that tastes good. But I just want you to look at, this is for amphetamines, but I just want you to look at the scale, look, 100 to 150. 1,000, you can't compete with that. You can't tell a person who's addicted, listen, your life is going to be stress-free when you stop. No. They're like, listen, I got everything numbed out right now and stress-free. But I got a lot of pain because the rest of my life is falling apart. Now, so what happens essentially is the brain says, whoa, way too much dopamine in here. Take the receptors down. It can't control the amount of dopamine, Because that's the more drinking you do, the more dopamine gets released. The more drugs you do, the more dopamine gets released. The brain says, take those receptors down. And that's what we see. Dopamine receptors are lower in addiction. Lots of red, right? Lots of red. This is your normal. And you can see there's much fewer red in this column. They've been downregulated. Also notice, doesn't matter how you get there. Coke, alcohol, heroin, pills, marijuana. All of them cause these changes in the brain. Right? Now, lots of red, that's normal. This person, a month after they stopped, not much red back. This is 4 months after they stopped. Now it's just starting to come back because the brain is saying, where's all that dopamine? Put the receptors back up. It takes about 2 years. So treatment works if you stay in it, right? Treatment works if you stay in it because, a lot of people, okay, I've been in treatment therapy 6 months. Okay, am I done? Right? We know our goal is what? In adolescence, we want to, as we know, the younger people understand risk, use goes down. That's why we're doing this even tonight, right? We want everyone to understand the risks of alcohol and drugs. All right, so that was really the first part. The part I really want to get into is when do you intervene? And prevention is the key. Before you have the problem, before you have the dependence problem. So like when it's in use, you see a kid who's using, or kid got DUI, let's say 17. Not when the third DUI, you say, okay, I'm going to go to the doctor now, right? Prevention is the key. Unfortunately, when do most people come in? When it's crisis, right? There's crisis, there's DUI, needle in the arm, overdose, whatever the situation is. Why? Because of stigma. I can't go to the psychiatrist, or I can't be in therapy. I can't be in therapy. I have something wrong with me if I'm in therapy, right? Why do we go to school? To learn, right? If I'm going to rebuild, start changing my own oil in my car, if I have a mechanic who's a professional standing next to me, guess what? It's going to probably go smoother, right? And it's still going to take me some time. Right? If you have a professional with you, it just works better. No matter what field you're in. Just think of your own field. Your expertise, you offer it to somebody, they're going to have a better outcome. It's really that straightforward. Actually, I heard this joke. At 20, you think everybody's talking about you. At 40, you stop caring who's talking about you. At 60, you realize nobody really was talking about you. It's most of what's going on is in our head. Most people are consumed with their own anxieties. You think, oh, this one thinks this about me. This one said she doesn't like me. She didn't say goodbye to me. It's just amazing. And so where are our thoughts? So as a parent, as an adult, if you suspect something, follow your gut. Follow your gut. I mean, it's impossible. You got to get them to 21. Okay? You are the messenger that your children are most likeliest to listen, even if you don't feel so close to them. You know when kids start looking for other ways to feel good about themselves? When they feel disconnected. In fact, that's the George Valiant out of Harvard University, psychiatrist, studied AA members for 40 years. You know what he found? The key ingredient? Fellowship, connection. I'm not alone in this. And that's what I kept hearing in everybody's story. I'm not alone. I can do this. I'm not alone. I can do this. Right? Help children find ways to communicate with family members. Safe places to turn to. If they think you're going to slap them, you think they're going to tell you? Really? Right? It's not going to. You think if they say, you think they're going to tell you? They're not going to tell you. They're going to be too ashamed. Rather than saying, you know what? I've made mistakes. If you make a mistake, the worst thing you can do is lie to me, because then I can't help you. And this is actually what I tell my patients. The same thing. I say, listen, I can't save you. I just want to be clear on this. I can help you save yourself, right? But you got to do the work. So you have to find ways to communicate, to solve problems. I think you got it. Message for alcohol. No, never. You're under 21. Why, Dad? Why? Listen, it's real simple. That's just the way the laws are written. When you're 21, okay, you can make a decision. So, message for smoking illegal drugs, same thing. No, it's illegal. It's real simple. You don't have to come up with any fancy stories of some reasons of why you did, and they can or can't. Straight up, you follow the rules. Alcohol, not a rite of passage to becoming an adult. Young people who start drinking before the age of 15 are 5 times more likely to have alcohol-related problem. So you think, that sip is not a big deal. Trust me, it's a big deal. And if you've already allowed it, stop it now. Never too late, right? For any of us to wake up. And also remember, persons who are over 21 are criminally responsible for underage drinking that occurs in their house. Okay? There was some party, you probably may have seen it in the news, there's some party, 400 kids, and I think 4 of them got hospitalized for alcohol poisoning. I don't think anybody passed, but I think the parents' lawyer was saying, there was no alcohol served at the house. We didn't serve anything. So, of course, but it's a problem. You don't want to get into that, right? You want to avoid, prevent. Impact on memory, decision-making, especially significant for teens, even if only on the weekends, it still impacts their decision-making and memory. Likely to affect their ability to learn and perform well in school. Possible relationship between marijuana and the onset of psychotic episodes. Listen, the goal is prevention. One of the mnemonics for marijuana is chronic. Sometimes some of my patients will say, I only smoke it a couple times a week. I'll say, Dr. Dre, I go, he calls it the chronic. I go, you know why he calls it the chronic? Because it becomes chronic, okay? You start craving it more because your whole reward system, remember, dopamine receptors down. This is how we feel what? Well. So now I got to get a little boost to get my day going. It's a problem. Okay, what can we do? Last few slides. Columbia Addiction Institute, they basically look 5 to 7 family dinners per week, 0 to 2 family dinners per week. That's all they told them to do, have dinner. Didn't tell them what to talk about, didn't tell them how long to sit, right? But clearly, just from sitting around the table, substance abuse rates are lower. I thought that was amazing. One of my favorite slides, Dr. Salman Akbar, brilliant guy, wonderful person. He said, you know what? I was at one of his lectures. This is what he taught me that day. He said, there's 6 needs that we all have. Now notice, you don't see BMW on this list. Notice, you don't see any designer clothes on this list. And in fact, I don't remember those things from my childhood. But you know what I do remember? Are these things. How safe did I feel? I didn't feel too like I fit in when I was in grade school. Oh yeah, those 2 kids jumped me. Dad was where? Dad was working. Second shift, 3 to 11, Rockwell International. He was a machinist. 1,225 was an hour. You take what you can get, right? Safety. We gotta feel safe. Now, if there's yelling and screaming going on amongst the parents, guess what? Do you think it's making the child feel more safe? No. In fact, it's increasing their anxiety. They're becoming more anxious and they're holding it because they don't want to upset mom and dad. Mummy, daddy, niche ko pata nahi kya ho raha hai, baat chal rahi hai kuch, just stay, they'll stop. The brother says to the sister. Not good. Love. Remember I said about AA, connectivity. Identity. Who am I? Like exactly what I was just talking about. This is a really important one. Causality. Why what happened happened? If you don't explain to it was very confusing for me that nobody explained to me that we're moving across the world, even though I was 5, 6 years old. I see my son understands. I talk to him, he understands. But causality, why what happened happened? Timeline, continuity. Oh yes, this happened and then this happened. A lot of people will say, I don't remember my childhood. There's a gap. And it doesn't give you a great sense of identity if you've got a lot of gaps in your mind, right? Generativity. Now that basically is not just generating, but it's actually preserving, desiring, culture, ritual, poetry. Our culture is very rich with that, right? So think about it, when do we feel good? Especially now, now we're not so rebellious, We remember maybe a song your mother chanted, or the family. You crave that now, right? We crave these things. We crave to understand, what happened. We crave to understand who am I connected with and who am I not. And what really changes people? What really is it all about? It's about relationship. That's how AA works. It's about relationship.